Vasishta continued. Thus instructed by Manu, Ikshvaku attained enlightenment. Adopt such an attitude, O Ram. So if you want the story of Ikshvaku's enlightenment, you'll need to look back to the previous chapters. Rama asked, if such be the nature of the enlightened person, what is so extraordinary and wonderful in it? This seems like a peculiar question, because Vasishta has just been extolling and praising the liberated one. So why should Rama ask this seemingly obtuse question? Perhaps there's a clue in Vasishta's answer. Vasishta continued, on the other hand, what is so extraordinary and wonderful about the attainment of psychic powers, like the ability to fly in the air? So where does this come from? The ability of psychic powers, like being able to fly in the air? Well, that's more obviously wonderful, isn't it? Wouldn't it be great to be able to fly through the air? And this is what the ancient sages were supposed to be able to do. So there's actually two contrasting teachings here. There is the traditional yogic teachings, which stress a transcendence of mind and body. And along with that transcendence of mind and body, there naturally follow these supernormal abilities. This is a firmly established tradition. What evidence there is for it is another matter. There's certainly plenty of people in the West been practicing yoga and haven't manifested these obvious supernormal powers. There's no doubt if somebody can fly through the air or not. If this is an ability which can be attained through yogic practice, then I think we would have seen more of it by now. The best we've got is the TM city people who can bounce around on big mattresses. Quite impressive actually, being able to do that, but it's hardly flying, even though they call it yogic flying. It's more like yogic bouncing. And the other teaching we've got is the teaching of self-knowledge reached through self-inquiry, which doesn't sound the least bit as exciting, does it, as yogic flying. And this is the contrast we've got. And I think this is the basis of Ram's question. Why should we be so interested in self-knowledge when there's the possibility, the apparent possibility, of acquiring supernormal powers? Aren't supernormal powers much more exciting, much more worth pursuing? It's certainly far more interesting to people on YouTube if I put the word siddhi, which is the technical term for a supernormal attainment, into my list of tags for a video. I generally get more hits for that video. If I put knowledge, self-knowledge, then I'll be lucky to scrape double numbers for my videos. So clearly the appeal of supernormal powers is far greater than the appeal of spiritual understanding. So I think this is at the heart of Ram's question. Why bother with self-knowledge when we can have some wonderful powers? But Vasishta is saying, well, what's so wonderful about these powers? He's supposed to have them, he's supposed to be able to fly through the air, so we'll have to take it from him that they're not that special. The nature of the ignorant is the absence of equanimity. The characteristic of the enlightened one is purity of mind and absence of craving. So this is the bottom line here, it's about equanimity. The whole thing about supernormal powers, while not wishing to dismiss this possibility, I would like to see some evidence for them. There's never any conclusive evidence for this sort of thing, and I suspect it's simply a belief. It's a belief which is very important to some people. However, I would say equanimity is a very real possibility. I would say actually self-inquiry, self-knowledge is real. Supernormal powers, I've got my doubts. And even if they are real, they're not going to lead to spiritual understanding. You might as well become a world-class gymnast or something and be able to do incredible things with your body. You can devote your life to that, or being a great musician, spend your days practicing your instrument. These are as supernormal as we're going to get, and they're certainly worth appreciating for what they are. But equanimity, this can be a real thing. Going beyond our personality, understanding the reality within which our personality arises, this is a possibility. The enlightened one is not characterized by characteristics. He is devoid of confusion and delusion. It's possible to live in a state of harmony, a state of understanding, a state of seeing how things really are. Being devoid of confusion and delusion does not mean operating in accordance with conviction of beliefs, conviction in notions. It's realizing the notional nature of our reality, and it's being comfortable with that. It's being at ease with that. Samsara has come to an end, and lust, anger, grief, delusion, greed, and such disastrous qualities are greatly weakened in him. They may still be there in the personality, so we must be careful about judging somebody to be liberated or not. That's not our concern. Our only concern is our own self-knowledge. We don't get caught up in judging whether somebody else is liberated or not. We simply use their words. We use their words. If their words are useful, we go with that. If they're not, we reject them. The Lord assumes individuality, jiva. The elements arise in the cosmos without any reason whatsoever. The individual which emanated from the Lord experiences the elements, objects, as if they were created by him. So this is a story. But it's a story that's going on all the time. The Lord assumes individuality. The Lord is the supreme consciousness. It's not a supreme consciousness amongst other consciousnesses. Consciousness itself is supreme. And this consciousness, when it forgets its own nature, when it moves away from its own nature, it gets caught up in limitations. These limitations are the notions which it identifies with. Notions, for example, of being an individual, notions of individuality. And this just happens. It's something which just happens. There's no reason for it. And this individual which emanated from the Lord, which the Lord identifies with, experiences the elements or objects, these are our notions, as if they were created by him. The meaning here isn't particularly clear, because they were created by him. This reality is being created by our own cognitive process, but the thing is, we start to believe in it as if it's something separate. It's our own creation, but we believe in it as if it was something separate. Thus do all jivas arise and function for no obvious reason. There's no reason. It's just something that happens. It's like a whirlpool. We can probably get the story behind it, or create a story for why a particular jiva arises, but that's not the problem. The issue is, where do we go from here? But from then on, their own individual actions become the causes for their subsequent experience of pleasure and pain. The limitation of one's own understanding is the cause for the individual's actions. And this is the choice we've got. We can carry on with our own notions and believing in our own notions of being an individual, or we can look deeper, look deep into the essence of our individuality, which means our awareness, our attention, and look directly into the nature of that. And what do we find?